Hey friends, Ash here with Gents with another fragrance review. Not too long ago I held a poll on my YouTube channel with 5 different fragrances, and I asked you which of those fragrances you wanted to see a review on most. And the one that was victorious is the one that I'm doing a review on today. This one, Prada L'Homme Water Splash. And just to let you guys know about what's coming up on my channel here really soon, I'm going to do an entire week of nothing but niche fragrance reviews. So the plan is to have 7 videos in 7 days. Every one of those fragrances reviewed will be either a niche or an indie fragrance. Because I have a lot of niche fragrances that I've wanted to talk about, but I just haven't had time to really work them in. So I'm gonna do 7 in a row. So if you like niche fragrances, those videos are gonna be for you. If you don't like niche fragrances, I'm sorry. Anyway, enough of all of that. Let's jump into this Prada L'Homme Water Splash. All right guys, let's check out that presentation. Name of the house, name of the fragrance, size and concentration down here at the bottom. It's got that Prada Water Splash design here on the box, which you're either gonna like or hate. At the top, you got nothing. On the sides, that pattern wraps around, and it does have an indentation in the box right here. Hopefully you can pick that up. Yep, there it is. Which just says L'Homme Prada, and that's on all 3 sides of the box that aren't the front. So you've got it here on the sides and on the back. Then on the bottom, you have your ingredient information and your badge code punched into the box down here. And here we have the bottle. I've pulled out my bottle of Prada L'Homme Low just for kind of a comparison here so you can see the big differences. On Water Splash, again, you have that design, name of the fragrance here, and that design goes all the way around the bottle. It is a sticker that wraps around, it overlaps here on the back. Hopefully you can pick that up as well. It is right here. Here you have the bottom of the bottle. The badge code's not actually here, but it is etched into the bottle right there. Cap clicks into place and the atomizer on this is very good. Now the big differences between these obviously is going to be the size. You can see there the shape, whereas this one is just a cylinder. Also, Water Splash is a bit taller, as you can see right here. The cap is a little bit bigger as well. Just overall, a little bit of a chunkier bottle. And I'll just give these a quick spin so you can kind of see the difference side by side. All right guys, there we go. Presentation for Prada L'Homme Water Splash. In case you're unaware, this is the new 2019 flanker in the Prada L'Homme line, which obviously includes the original Prada L'Homme, as well as Prada L'Homme Low, Prada L'Homme Absolute, and Prada L'Homme Intense. There are also some other random one-off flankers in there, but those are the main ones. Now, as I spoke about in the presentation part of the video, one of the main differences between this one and the other Prada L'Homme releases is the bottle size. This one is 150 milliliters, so this one is going to be substantially larger than the other releases. Now, I have to let you guys know right off the bat, this one is very similar to Prada L'Homme Low, which is this one that I showed in the presentation part. These two, very similar. Ginger is more pronounced in Prada L'Homme Water Splash than it is Prada L'Homme Low. There's also a slightly spicy cardamom note that Prada L'Homme Low lacks that Prada L'Homme Water Splash has. Water Splash also comes across slightly less powdery than Prada L'Homme Low does. It still has iris, which is what imparts a lot of that powder, so you do get some of that in Water Splash. It's not completely devoid of any powder or any iris. It's still there. It's just slightly less pronounced than in Prada L'Homme Low. There's also a prominent neroli note in Water Splash that gives you that white floral, slightly citric feeling in the opening. It's really refreshing, smells really nice, and it does make sense with the Water Splash name. That neroli really makes this a great choice for warm weather. Water Splash is a really great name for this flanker because in the opening, you've got that neroli, you've got some mandarin leaf, you've got that brisk ginger, and that all combines to give you, again, a slightly citric, refreshing, watery opening. Into the mid and dry down, Water Splash still shares that similarity to Prada L'Homme Low. These two are not that different. Sure, Water Splash has maybe a little more of a citric feeling, a little more of a citrus undertone. It has a little bit less sweetness, a little bit less powder than Prada L'Homme Low, but they could be considered redundant. If you already own this one, Prada L'Homme Low, buying this one and expecting something completely different is gonna be a mistake. In the circumstance that you already own Prada L'Homme Low, the only real way that I could recommend you picking up Water Splash is if you either are completely in love with the Prada L'Homme line and you don't care that there's a big similarity between the two, or if you just really like Prada L'Homme Low and you want something like that, very similar to that, with just a little twist. Again, going off the name Water Splash here, something like Prada L'Homme Low, just more refreshing. When it dries down, Water Splash has just the remnants of that iris from the opening in the mid, with some light woods and a faint dollop of amber. The differences between these two is most pronounced in the opening. Then as it hits the mid, they start to get closer together in how they smell. Once they hit the dry down, very, very similar. The performance from Water Splash off my skin is not very good, which is not really a surprise. Longevity for me is in the 4-hour range, so this is gonna be one of those summertime fragrances that you need to reapply over and over again throughout the day if you wanna get that projection, you know, that sillage. Because after about 30 minutes, Water Splash starts to sit pretty close to the skin. I will say of the entire Prada L'Homme line, that Water Splash easily to me is the most summer-centric release of the bunch. So if that's what you're after, a really summarized version of Prada L'Homme, check this one out. Now, as far as my personal feelings for this one, I really like it. I have always liked the Prada L'Homme line. When the first Prada L'Homme came out originally, when it first came out, and I've talked about this in the past on the channel, it got slammed. People said it sucked. People said it was boring, generic, trash. Just people hated Prada L'Homme when it first came out. And it was one of those fragrances that the first time I smelled it, I said to myself, I really don't get the hate. This is a really, really nice fragrance, easy to wear, great for casual wear, great to the office, just something that really appealed to me. So, I mean, what can I say? That DNA, the Prada L'Homme DNA, it's always appealed to me, and this one is no different. The opening is really nice to me, slightly watery with that neroli touch. It's very appealing, brisk, refreshing. It just smells great off my skin. This is a fragrance that since I've gotten it in, I've already given it considerable wear. I mean, if I'm going out and I just want a dumb reach over the past few weeks, this has been my go-to. It has that clean, soapy feeling that you associate with the Prada L'Homme line, but at the same time, it's got freshness that helps offset that a little bit. So if you're the type of person that really can't go for those clean, soapy fragrances, if that's not for you, then the little twists that they've, put into this to change it up a little bit from Prada L'Homme Low may make this work better for you, because it does have that bit of freshness. That, again, neroli, that slightly watery feeling, the slightly citric feeling, the toned down powder here. It works. The ingredients here smell of high quality, which you would expect from a Prada fragrance. So the only real drawback to me is the performance. The longevity, not very good. Projection, again, not so great after the first 30 minutes. And another drawback, I guess, would be the similarity to this one, which I've already talked about ad nauseum. But for me, being a big fan of the Prada L'Homme line, I actually prefer this one. I like the twist that it does. Prada L'Homme Low is a great fragrance, but this one is gonna get more wear from me personally. Touching on that weak performance though, Prada basically is telling you that this has weak performance right from the get-go, and that's what they're going for. The name of the fragrance is Water Splash. That's not something that really screams out to me, 12 hours of performance and monstrous projection. And they've given you a 150 milliliter size bottle. So they've given you 50 more milliliters than you would typically get in the larger size of bottle. The reason for that is because you're expected to either wear this heavily or reapply it through the day. That's why you get the bigger bottle. It's obviously being marketed as a light cologne-ish type fragrance, something that, again, you would just splash on to be refreshed, smell clean, have that brisk kind of energetic opening that lasts for 30 minutes or so, and then dies down to a nice, clean fragrance. That's what this is. There are lots of fragrances out there that accomplish similar things, like 4711, for example. That one based heavily on neroli, and it's one that you just splash on for that refreshing, uplifting opening, and then it basically disappears. This one lasts longer than 4711, and I'm not drawing a direct comparison between the two or anything like that. I'm just saying that's how this is being marketed, as that type of scent. Now, as I've already spoken about, this is a warm weather fragrance. This is going to be for summertime use. You could also use this in the spring and the higher heat days of spring. This is not something I would reach for in fall, not something I would reach for in winter, not something I would reach for at the beginning of spring when it's still cool outside. And this is a fragrance that I find very specifically for daytime use. This is not something I would want to wear at nighttime. There are tons and tons and tons of better choices out there for nighttime use. This is a high heat, casual wear, daytime fragrance. You could wear this to the office as well, but this is not gonna make it through the day. So if you're looking for an 8-hour plus fragrance and you like the Prada L'Homme DNA, go with the original Prada L'Homme, go with Prada L'Homme Low, maybe even Prada L'Homme Intense, but not this one. All right guys, that's gonna do it for me. Prada L'Homme Water Splash. Again, I love the way this one smells. Love the opening, the mid, the dry down. I think it smells great. I like the twist that it does on Prada L'Homme Low. I like, again, the citrus, the slightly lowered powder, that watery feeling in the opening. Really, really enjoyable for me just the whole way through. Drawbacks are going to be the redundancy, which is extremely obvious. This is very redundant from Prada L'Homme Low. I talked about earlier in the video how it may make sense to you to pick this one up even if you own L'Homme Low, but be aware, there's definite redundancy here, and the performance is not great. Again, me personally, I love this one, but I'm a sucker for the Prada L'Homme DNA. The only one that didn't really do it for me was Prada L'Homme Absolute. This one is a winner, and for summertime use, this automatically just jumped to the top of my Prada L'Homme lineup. All right guys, it's gonna do it for me. If you have smelled this fragrance, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Let me know if you're annoyed by the redundancy between these two, or if you like the little twist that they've done here. As always, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it so much. Be on the lookout for those niche videos if you're into niche fragrances coming up really soon. And I'll see you guys next time.